Welcome to today's session. Today we'll be looking at how to write a great CV. Let's get straight into it. What is a CV? Why do I need one? A CV is what an employer reads before deciding whether to interview you for a job. So when you write one, you're basically packaging up all your great qualities into one easy to read document. Think of it as an advert for yourself and your abilities. It should clearly show the strengths and experiences that are most relevant to the job you're applying for and demonstrate your potential as a future employee. Did you know recruiters spend less than 30 seconds reading each CV? This means when you send your CV to a recruiter, you have half a minute to sell yourself and your strengths. If that sounds like a big ask, then don't worry. This session will give you the tools you need to start building a CV that gets you noticed for all the right reasons. CVs always include the same basic building blocks: your name and contact details, personal profile, otherwise known as personal statement, professional profile, or just profile. Experience or skills. If you don't have much workplace experience, you can build a CV that focuses on your skills, and we'll look at how to do that as part of this session. Role-specific skills. You may want to pull out skills that are relevant to the role under a separate heading, i.e. additional languages, or a current clean driving licence. Education and interests. You can include a section on your hobbies and interests, although this isn't essential. It can help the interviewer to get more of an idea of you as a person, help to get the conversation started at interview, but it's particularly good if your interests are relevant to the role you're applying for. So getting started, if you have access to Microsoft Office, you can find loads of free CV templates to help you get started. This talks you through the steps on this slide. You can also find them through Google. Remember, when you're doing your search, type in the word free, as not all online templates are, and you don't want to spend 2 hours creating a CV to find out you need to pay for it. The brilliant thing about using a template is that it does all the formatting for you, which includes font sizes and layout. All you need to do is type in the content. We're going to be looking at Microsoft Word's template called Chronological Resume. Resumes and CVs are the same thing. The term resume is just more common in the US, and Microsoft is a US company. So when you're choosing your format, it's fine to select one called resume. Here's a cheesy CV example we've created using fake details for Beyonce to show you how it works. The first thing you want at the top of your CV is your name in a large bold font. You don't need to write CV anywhere, as prospective employers will know what this is, and you can use the space more wisely. Next, you need to think about your address, contact number, and email address. Have a think, which of these two email addresses would you include in a CV? Yes, that's right, number 1, it looks a lot more professional. When you're using a template, just overtype the text with your own information. Personal profiles don't need to be long, usually they're just a few sentences. Remember, the 30 seconds most recruiters spend time reading a CV is not a long time at all. So they need to be able to read your personal profile and decide whether they want to read further. It's really important to get this bit right. Some people find this difficult. We find that we might be talking about ourselves and then we might sound a bit arrogant. We're bigging ourselves up a bit. To others, it may feel as though we don't have enough to say, or we don't have the skills that the employer wants. We also might find it difficult to explain a gap in employment, and we're not sure whether to include that or not. Let's take a look at some examples. The school leaver focuses on their interests, skills and career goals because they're early on in their career journey and they don't have a huge amount of work experience to draw on. The recent graduate focuses on their educational achievements. They're very specific about the type of role they're looking for and clearly explain their career goals. The person at the bottom who has experienced unemployment again focuses on their goals. They also talk about personal qualities and backs them up with talking about volunteer work that they've done. This personal profile is written in the third person. It sounds as though someone has written it for them rather than Henry writing it about himself. It sounds a bit like a school report. Writing in the third person sounds less authentic than writing in the first person. We would much rather see someone write a profile about themselves and sound as though they've written it rather than somebody else. Writing a personal profile can be tricky, and you sometimes need 2 or 3 goes before your CV starts to get you interviews. If you're struggling to write one for yourself, why not ask someone you trust what they think about you and your skills, and then use this to write it in your own words. Once you have a great personal profile, it's easy to tweak it for the different roles you're applying for. So here's how Beyoncé's personal profile looks in her CV template. This is probably a good time to talk about photos and pictures. You'll find some templates do include them, but we advise against. We think that if you're applying for a job, you're better off leaving this off, unless you're applying to be a model or an actor where it might be important. This is partly because your CV needs to be both digital and print-out friendly, but mainly because using a picture can introduce unconscious bias into the recruitment process. We're now going to look at an experience-based CV. If you've had some workplace experience behind you, then an experience-based CV is the best approach for you, unless you're completely changing direction in your career. In this type of CV, the main body of the document summarises your work experience. On our template, this section is called Experience. On others, you might see it called Employment History. You would start with your most recent role, include dates and the company name, add your job title, list your main responsibilities and achievements. Use action words like achieved or created. These sound much more positive than I had to. And older roles only need a brief summary. Just 1 or 2 bullets is fine. If you've had very similar jobs, avoid duplicating responsibilities and achievements. So list these under the most recent example and then just the job titles and dates for the others, if it's very much the same. If you've got gaps in your work history, just be honest about this and prepare yourself to answer questions about this in an interview. There are many reasons why someone might have a gap in their employment history. They may have been caring for a sick relative, they may have been made redundant, or it might have been an opportunity to travel the world. It's important to be honest and to think about how you would answer questions about any gaps in an interview. For example, if you were made redundant, you could talk about how the experience helped you to develop resilience and made you more determined to get a job. Early on in your career, this section of education needs to be detailed to demonstrate the knowledge and skills you've gained through education, but haven't had the chance to gain through work experience yet. If you're later in your career journey, you may want to consider leaving the dates of your qualifications off. You don't need to necessarily say what year you gained these, and it will help to avoid any unconscious bias in the selection process. You also don't need to list all of your GCSEs by subjects if you've got some. 8 GCSEs at grades A to C, including Maths and English, is fine. Include any qualifications that you're working towards, and there's no harm in omitting grades and focusing on just the positives. According to the Guardian Careers website, 1/3 of job seekers overstate their qualifications to find a job. We would advise you to never overstate your grades or claim qualifications you don't have. Employers can check this, and it could then result in you losing out on a job that you would have been perfect for. Interests and references. Your interests reveal a lot more of your personality and can help show that you have the relevant skills for the role, particularly if they are relevant to the role you're applying for. They can also help your CV to stand out from the crowd and give you something to talk about in an interview. If you're applying for a role in technology, then if you've got hobbies in coding or strategy games, these would be of interest. If you're going for a personal trainer role, the fact that you enjoy keeping fit and you're into sports. If you were going for a role as a youth worker or a teacher, then the fact that your hobbies include being a scout leader or a mentor or a coach. With regards to references, we would recommend that you leave this off. If an employer is interested in these, they will request them at a later stage. If you don't have much experience, or if you're changing direction and don't have experience relevant to the role, don't worry. You can still create a standout CV based on your skills. The skills and qualities outlined in job descriptions don't need to come from paid employment. They can also come from volunteering activities or your hobbies and interests. When you're writing a CV with no hard experience, it's important to emphasise what you do have. It all starts with identifying your strengths. If you're not sure where your strengths lie, make a list of the things that you really enjoy doing, things that you do well, and things that energise you. Once you've identified your strengths, you can use them to create a skills-based CV. The purpose of this slide is to illustrate that strengths, these are the things that we enjoy and that energise us, are skills that can be used in a CV, because as it says in the dictionary definition, a skill is the ability to do something well. So if you play netball, football, rugby, hockey, you have teamwork skills. If you write a blog, you have communication skills. If you're good with Office, Macs or smartphones, you have IT skills. If you've sold tickets for an event or raised a collection, you have organisational skills. If you've ever managed your own time, perhaps around study or exam revision, you have organisational skills. If you've ever encouraged your children or family to share things with you, you have negotiation skills. If you're a PC gamer, you have great hand-eye coordination, strategy skills, and probably a network of contacts in a range of different time zones if you're playing online. Top 10 employability skills. Recent research carried out by EU Skills, a professional body for the utilities industries, have identified the top 10 skills employers are looking for at the moment. They are using initiative and being self-motivated, organisational skills, working under pressure and to deadlines, the ability to learn and adapt, communication, teamwork, negotiation, valuing diversity and difference, problem solving, and numeracy and IT skills. Before starting to write your skills-based CV, it is worth taking a moment to reflect on your own strengths and how they compare to the top 10 employability skills. Those highlighted in pink show how you manage your behaviour at work, blue is how you work in a team, and green is how you think. When looking at a skills-based CV, some sections are the same as an experience-based CV. You've got your name, contact details, personal profile, education, interests, and references. The key difference is that the main body of the CV is used to describe your skills. Have a look through this example. We're now going to look at CV do's. Do use a template to create a clear layout. Let your personality shine through with a great personal profile. Emphasise any role-specific skills relevant to the job you're applying for. Check spelling and grammar. Use a professional email address. And include a covering letter where this adds value. We'll talk about this in the final part of the session. CV don'ts. Don't add a photo. It can introduce unconscious bias into the recruitment process. Don't make it too wordy. Stick to 2 pages or 1 page for every 10 years of experience. Don't use flowery fonts and colours. These can be difficult to read. Don't inflate your qualifications and grades. And don't rely on spell check when you're checking for typos. It can't tell the difference between the 3 spellings of to, or the number 2, or there. We've now come to the end of that session. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to share this with your friends and let them know about this amazing content that we're offering. Thank you.